Hey, I want to tell you about Moto Brand. Moto Brand was founded during the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic when the sport that we live for was taken from so many of us, whether it's cycling or moto. Waking up on a Saturday morning knowing that your local track was closed, there would be no Supercross, and for many of us that we couldn't even hit our favorite local riding spot or trail with our crew. We are forced to be reminded of how much the sport of moto and cycling truly means to us. Moto Brand represents a collection of individuals that not only ride, but live to ride. It's what we think of at all times of the day, and sometimes at a detriment to your relationship with your significant other. It's for those that look at their motorcycle or their bicycle as part of their identity. Maybe it's the way that you bond with your son or your daughter or your spouse. Perhaps it's your way to blow off stress of your day job, or even, hey, it is what it is, maybe even it's your marriage. This sport is more than just a sport. For many of us, it's a way of life. It's what keeps us ticking. It's what keeps us living. Moto Brand was created for a purpose, to be more than just a shirt that you can throw on in the morning, but these designs represent who you are and what you stand for. So I encourage you to head over to the motobrand.com, check out our collection. We have a pedal collection and we have a throttle collection, and there are more designs to come that stand for something. So head over to the motobrand.com and we'll see you there.
I want to tell you about something special that RacerX is doing right now. If you go to racerxonline.com/moto marketing, be sure to use our link. You can subscribe and get the Nationals box. This is pretty exciting. Check this out. They have the 2020 Pro Motocross Souvenir Program, print plus digital RacerX magazine subscription, so you get the traditional magazine as well as right to your phone or to your computer. You get the Marty Smith cover poster, 2020 Lucas Oil Pro Motocross sticker, and the 2020 Lucas Oil Pro Motocross t-shirt, and a pretty sweet little collector's national box that it comes in, all for the $50 subscription. You get all that. Pretty sweet. Be sure to go to racerxonline.com/moto marketing and get all the swag.
Welcome to the Moto Marketing Podcast, presented by RacerX, the podcast for moto industry professionals, entrepreneurs, and riders. If you want to grow your brand and business in today's digital-first world, you have to know how to turn a stranger into a fan, turn a like into a customer. You have to know how to turn attention into dollars. This podcast is dedicated to keeping you in the know on real marketing tactics that work in the moto world so that you grow your business and help grow the sport. Get ready to learn from the very same marketing experts trusted by RacerX, Lucas Oil Pro Motocross, GNCC, and NBC Sports. They'll help you navigate the world of digital marketing for your moto brand. This is the Moto Marketing Podcast. Presented by RacerX.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Moto Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Luke Nesler. We've got an awesome episode today for you, a very different, very unique episode for you. Not long ago, I was approached by a podcast listener who had a question that a lot of other folks ask, and I thought it'd be really cool to bring him on. And then I dug a little bit deeper into the situation and learned that this moto enthusiast, this podcast listener, is a professional athlete, but not in the moto space. I've got Tanner Carew with me today, who is a former Oregon Duck. He is a former NFL long snapper and was in the XFL until they had their situation last season. So we have a professional football player on with us today, but first and foremost, he's a moto fan. So I wanted him to come on, tell his story, and kind of use him as an example of somebody that is wanting to break into the moto space and chase their passion of working in the dirt bike industry, and see if we can't help you guys out. Tanner, welcome to the show. I appreciate you joining us.
Thanks for having me, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, I've been so intrigued by your story. Just, you know, I played high school football, and I follow the sport, so I know enough about it to, you know, you were telling me, you know, how you got your opportunity starting in high school, and I wasn't as obviously as talented as you in football, so I never took it past high school, but I was also that guy in high school that, you know, did weightlifting with the football team and had 2-a-days in August. But what I really wanted to be doing was riding my dirt bike. Like, that was always my passion. I was just a little bit better at football than I was at motorcycles back in the day. and then that gravy train kind of ended after high school. With you, it continued on, but you always had this passion of motorcycles. Let's start with that. Where did your love of two wheels come from?
Man, since I can remember, 4 years old, Christmas tree, there was a JR50 under the tree. First bike, Suzuki. Grabbed that, and then I've been riding since I was 4.
That's awesome.
Every 4, I went to Supercross until I was 21. Like at Anaheim 1, 2, 3, and then went to Dodger Stadium. We went to all the races. Huge moto fan. Always followed Ricky and James Stewart.
You're
Chad
a California
Reed.
guy then, huh?
Oh yeah. Southern California, little town, Chino Hills, right outside of Anaheim. It's about 30 minutes from the stadium. But so I've been riding my whole life. My parents have a house they bought in '99 on a little lake, little private ski lake off the 15 freeway called Calico Lake. So it's in the middle of the high desert, right in between LA and Vegas. So, I just grew up riding my dirt bike out there like nonstop all the time. But then obviously like football rolled along, like when I was, I started playing when I was in 6th grade, I think. Started playing in 6th grade. And then obviously I love football, still playing to this day. Not many people can say, they played past high school, played past college.
Just like this guy right here. Just like me.
But so I been able to do all that. I was a good high school football player, but I wasn't no freak athlete. Like I wasn't a freak, like 5-star athlete, like how like rivals rank all these guys now and stuff. But I was a really good long snapper. I was a freakishly good long snapper. And the varsity coach my freshman year came to me and said, "Hey, like there's these camps you could go to and like get ranked and go to college for that." And I was like, okay. So I originally went so I could make varsity as a sophomore. Like I just wanted to do that. So then went to these camps. Chris Rubio long snapping. He's like the best in the business. Went to him, and then I worked my way up till I was the #1 long snapper in the country coming out.
That's amazing. How long did that take? Were you a junior in high school, or were you ranked #1 before you were a senior?
Yeah. I was ranked #1 as a junior. I committed to Oregon before my senior year, before junior year ended. So I kind of got the process, just done quick, because the recruiting process is something just crazy. It's weird. So you just want to get it over with. If you're a stress case, just want to get it over with. But no, so I worked my way up till I was #1 long snapper in the country, and just like it was so weird. Like it was just a hand of cards that I thought I'd never be dealt. And all of a sudden, like playing Division I football and playing in the NFL and playing professional football all became a reality. And then, obviously I have no complaints. Like I've had awesome experiences, still trying to play, all that stuff. But what it did do is put riding dirt bikes on a complete hold.
Yeah. So were you even allowed to touch a motorcycle? At least with your coaching staff knowing, were you even allowed to ride any point from the time you were a junior in high school until really even today? So
I rode my senior year of high school like a lot. And I remember the last time I rode, my dad and his buddy Ray, they organized this run called the State Line Run every year. They ride from Barstow to Laughlin and back. So it's 180 miles there, 180 miles back. Last time I rode was senior year of high school, May that time. And I didn't get back on a bike till like recently. I'm 25 in like 6 weeks. So like it was a while.
But there's so much money. It was weird when we hopped on a call and we were having a conversation. I was like, yeah, I know a guy that snapped for the Seattle Seahawks, Tim Lindsay. And you're like, oh yeah, I know him. So weird that we know a similar the same contact. But I learned from him just how on and off it's on and off a long snapper's career can be. And you had mentioned because these guys stay in the league for so long. But the point I'm getting at is, some people are listening like, well, why didn't he just go ride? Well, the amount of money that you guys get paid on a per week basis when you are active on a team is just stupid. Am I correct? So you can't really jeopardize that by going out and breaking a wrist. That's a career ender, correct?
100%. Obviously, the NFL is a complete revolving door that people don't really get.
Right.
I would like that roster at the end of the season looks a lot different than it did at the beginning due to injuries, due to people getting cut, due to what now there's like a whole nother room now to people having COVID,
Right.
No. So it's an interesting business that people don't really see how it how it is, but it's the reality of it for me.
So talk about let's briefly go through college and then pro, because there's going to be some people who are listening to this and like, why in the hell are we talking about football? I find it interesting that you've got somebody that is on the biggest stage in sports in the world, but his passion really isn't that. His passion is two wheels and motorcycles, and you know what you make when you're active on a roster, and you probably have an idea what you would make in the moto industry, but you're a prime example of, man, it's really about doing something that you genuinely love, not the money and that, and that football doesn't last forever. So what college was that? I mean, Oregon is one of the coolest programs. I'm not an Oregon fan. I'm not a fan. We're on the other coast. West Virginia is our team, but everybody knows Oregon. You've got the coolest looking gear. That's where the guy, the founder of Nike went, right? Is that why you guys get like the hookup on like the sickest looking stuff, right? So you've got like the coolest looking team. You guys are always competitive. What was that experience like being at one of the premier programs in the country?
Oh, it was awesome. It was completely awesome. So like that was one of the hardest decisions like I would probably ever have to make though. Looking back on it, like it seems so easy then, but looking back, it's like I could have gone to other places.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I wanted to go to Oregon. It was easier for me because like going in. So it's weird with long snapping with recruiting because like it's like normally a big time school they offer one guy every 4 years when that guy's done. So it's like I had a limited amount of schools to like kind of choose from if they offered me.
Mm-hmm.
So like it really came down to Colorado, UCLA, and Oregon.
Mm.
And I chose Oregon. Like I took my visit and like just fell in love with it. Like I couldn't. It at the time it couldn't have been easier, to be honest.
Yeah.
But wow, like it's kind of a big decision, like going to other parts of the country and meeting different people. It's kind of a weird thing to think about, but no, Oregon was amazing. Like. Just the facilities there. They have the best facilities in the nation. Not even close.
Yeah.
Like Phil Knight just tricks us out. He really does. Just with all the Nike stuff. It's crazy. The headquarters is right here in Portland.
That's awesome.
Like it's just an awesome experience. But playing for those teams was like some of the best memories of my life for sure. Like, winning a Rose Bowl my freshman year, I never really thought that I would, get to do that. Growing up in Southern California, winning a Rose Bowl is pretty cool.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah,
that
was
a big
awesome.
Deal. So the transition from college to pro, when you were in college, were you like, yeah, I'm probably going to be able to make it to the NFL, or was that another surreal, like, holy shit moment, I've made it on the biggest stage in the world in all of sports? Like, what was that like for you?
That was nuts. Like, there's a cool video of me and my dad, like, on draft day, like, when I got the call and the Seahawks were bringing me in and all that. And
that's awesome.
We were just, like, going crazy, like, it was pretty nuts because like it's something you just obviously work towards like every single day, and you dream of it as a kid, but you don't think it's ever going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But it did, and it's awesome. And it's like, and I'm still training. I'm still like active to get a call. Like I stay ready. So it's like we'll see. Most recently, I was in the XFL. That was a good experience.
What was that experience like? Because I think everybody was. No, I don't want to say everybody. A lot of people were excited about that league coming back, and I think a lot of us were pleasantly surprised with what was there. Was it like? Was there flavor of like this is the guy that owns pro wrestling? Like, what was that like, or was it just another professional sports organization?
It's funny you say that because there so was, just because like us in the locker room would make like some jokes about it, but there so was for like. So I don't know, you might have saw this. It went like all over SportsCenter. The first game, like a sponsor of the XFL was Bud Light Seltzer.
Okay.
So the winning team got a huge stack of Bud Light Seltzers in the locker room after the game. And of course, like our team, we had like a bunch of characters, a bunch of awesome guys, and we were like pounding them, like throwing them everywhere, just actually dumping on the coaches, like awesome. And it went all over SportsCenter. For like every game we won, like 3 weeks in a row. It was hilarious.
Which team were you on?
St. Louis Battlehawks.
Oh, nice. So did you guys play in the what was St. Louis's stadium called? Where the Rams played, right?
Yeah.
That's all, and it was your guys' stadium because there's no team there, right?
Oh yeah, it was.
That's
great.
rad. That's awesome.
That's a great sports town. Like shout out to St. Louis. Like
yeah. That's where a lot of my family's from. So that's one of the Supercrosses that I used to make it to as a kid. My family's actually from a really small town called Marissa. It's in Illinois, just across the river. But we would always go to St. Louis, and yeah, it is. I think it is a cool little town. It's a baseball town, but it's always one of the coolest Supercrosses to go to. So that's cool that you've been there. Did you ever get to go to a Supercross event in St. Louis when you were playing there?
No, the only Supercross events that we see. I mean, I went to Vegas a couple times.
Yep.
Like all the Anaheims. Like name an Anaheim those years, I was probably there.
That's awesome.
And in San Diego, we went to a lot. Like actually, my favorite race I ever went to was in San Diego. It was Ricky and James battling out, and James hit him on the second lap for the win. Yeah, that's right.
That's one thing that being on the East Coast, we're in the same town as Racer X, which is great, except if you want to see a lot of Supercross. The closest Supercross to us would be Indy, and so as a kid, before obviously I worked in the industry, I really didn't go to much more than Indy and St. Louis, and I got to see James race Supercross. I got to see Ricky and James battle outdoors because we're 20 minutes from High Point, but that's one of my biggest, not regrets, but something I'm most bummed about in life is I never got to see the year there was K-Dub, Chad, and Ricky and James all battling. You got to be in some of the attendance for some of those races that season, huh?
Yeah, I was 6. I was actually at 4 of them.
Yeah, man.
We were at all 3 Anaheims in San Diego.
That's awesome. So, again, I just find it really interesting that you've got a professional football player that really your passion isn't football. That's where you make your money. And you see it in moto. I mean, like, look, you've got Malcolm Stewart. His passion really isn't moto. His passion is fishing. Ryan Villapoto, his passion really isn't moto, or became to where it wasn't moto. It's hunting and other things. So it's common, it's normal. And we were just talking before you jumped on. I said you're the Chris Betts of the Moto Marketing Podcast. So you got Betts, who's a professional baseball player, but his passion is moto. And I find those stories super interesting. I think with you, what's really interesting is you're at that point. You said you're what, 25?
Yeah, I turned 25.
25. You're at that point to where you're starting to look like, okay, what if I don't play again? Or if I do, and that runs another 2-3 years, what do I want to do after my professional football career? And you have an interest in moto. Now, what you ended up graduating, right? Did you end up do you have a degree? Okay. What's your degree in?
It's in sociology, because actually, like, I don't know because in high school, I was really set before I was getting recruited. It was, let's go to the Coast Guard. Like, love to surf and I love the water, and let's do that. But then football became a thing. So I did that and loved it. And then also, like, but when I first got to Oregon, like, I was really small when I got to Oregon. I played my true freshman year at 185. Yeah. Like, small guy. And I had to get bigger. And then I wound up leaving at 250. But then we went to so the whole time I was like, I'm going to major in sociology because I did some research. Like, that degree would correlate good with the Coast Guard. Right. So it was that and political science were the ones they recommended. Yeah. So I wound up, but then football became a thing, and then I had other interests, and then always still followed moto, obviously. Right.
So when we come back, we're going to talk about ways that that Tanner could maybe transition into the sport of moto. We're going to talk about how much that degree matters with him getting a job, and the skills that he's taken from his current and one day past life of a professional football player, how he could maybe leverage those to get into the sport of moto, and how you could maybe learn from this story and do the same. So we'll be right back after this, and we'll dive into it. Hey, big shout out to our friends at FMF. Little D and the guys are always doing some pretty exciting things, not just with the performance products, but man, they've got the coolest apparel in the game, and I want to give you guys an opportunity to get that at a little bit of a discount. If you go to FMF and pick up any gear you'd like, hats, shirts, whatever it is, upon checkout, if you enter the code MMP30, MMP30, you can get 30% off. So MMP30 at checkout and get 30% off your order on FMF Apparel. All right, welcome back to the Moto Marketing Podcast. We got Tanner Carew with us, and talking about his interesting story of high school to college to professional football player. And you had said you have a degree in sociology, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people look at their degree as a box that they're in, or look at their degree as an advantage that they have. And I mean, again, this is one man's opinion, but I'm pretty set in my ways as far as my opinion on this. I don't believe your degree matters at all. I think it can matter if you leverage it in the right capacity, but I don't think you have to have a degree. I mean, look at somebody like JT. We just had him on a few episodes ago, an awesome episode. This is somebody that did not go to college. I think he might have tried it. Wasn't for him. He was a professional athlete, and he is one of the top guys that fly, one of the most respected guys in the industry. Doesn't have a college degree. You've got other folks that, myself, I'll use myself because I know I can speak to that as an example. I have a degree in journalism. Don't know. I have this podcast. Maybe that's journalism, whatever. I just look at it as talking into a microphone. I do not use my journalism degree at any point in day to run my successful business that is growing daily in the cycling and the moto industry. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I've got a pre-med degree, but I really want to work in moto. I want to be a rep for WPS. It doesn't matter what your degree is. What matters is how you represent and present yourself to a potential employer and the real life experiences that you have. And Tanner, I think something that plays into your favor big time is the experiences that you have with being a high-level athlete. I always try to find out if I've got two candidates and one played even just high school football or basketball or baseball, and you've got somebody that's never played team sports or any sport in general, I'm generally going to lean toward the other person because they generally have a work ethic that others don't. This isn't always the case, but a lot of times it is. And that work ethic pays dividends in the workplace. There's entrepreneurs and there's intrapreneurs, and we want, for us, people to work for us that are intrapreneurs, people that treat their position in the business like it is their business. And I feel like you didn't own the football team, but you had to put in 10x the amount of time to make sure that you were part of that football team. You had to treat yourself like a business so that you were successful in that league. I think that's something that's going to play heavily into your favor whenever you're approaching somebody to potentially transition into the motocross space. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think that's 100% right, because I look at like other guys that I played with in like professional ball and in college. A ton of them don't have degrees. Like a ton don't have degrees just because they like left early, like whatever the case was. Like, you know, like if you're a running back, you had 3 big years, you're not going to stay another year and risk getting hurt. You're going to go get paid. It's just reality. But what college did do for me with sports was they did a great job in college and in pro, every team I've ever been on. They do a great job setting guys up for after football. They really do. They had, like, when I was at the Seahawks, they brought in esports guys. Mm-hmm. It's like teach esports if they were interested.
Yeah.
Like they brought in people from a restaurant business. Like if the guy ever wanted to open a restaurant. So like they did a great job finding stuff. It was just with me. I think it'd be kind of hard for a football team to bring in moto stuff.
Right.
For me to,
sure.
That's what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
Because that's like what I wanted to do. So it's like setting yourself up for life after football. Because at the end of the day, like all those football players, where they're getting help to go somewhere after football, they all don't have degrees. So I would agree. Like it doesn't make sense sometimes. Right. Sometimes it does. It doesn't.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. And I think something that, you know, you have to keep in mind when you're looking for a position is presenting it to the employer, the potential employer, the value that you can bring, and not just saying, I can help you, you know, whatever. If you're applying for a sales, I like to use WPS because I know they're always looking for talented people. If you're applying for a position at WPS, rather than just saying you can, you know, help, you know, open up opportunities in new markets, showing why you feel you can achieve that. You know, with my experience with Oregon and the Seahawks and St. Louis, these are some skills that I learned. I had to communicate with, you know, with my coaching staff. I had to communicate with other players in the huddle. I had to represent myself this way that I feel it's going to bring value to this type of a position where I can bring those same skill sets that I learned playing professional football into helping WPS open up new markets, new segments in the market, whatever it is. Something like that. I mean, we get people all the time that apply for jobs or internships that say they can do something, but don't really back it up with proof to why they feel that way. And it's not something they teach in college to build your resume that way, I don't believe, but I think that's something that's valuable, that you'd be doing yourself a disservice if you didn't use examples from your experiences along the way in your professional career and with football to pitch yourself to a potential employer. So, and again, if you're listening to this and you didn't play professional football, what are things you've done in life that you can use that as an example, right? If this whole thing with Impakt doesn't work out for me and I go to work for whatever, NBC, you better believe that I'm going to use examples along the way that I gained from my what would be a failed business, and how I can spin that in a way that allowed me to or allows me to be valuable to your business. So is that something that you've thought about as far as like, hey, what am I taking away from professional football that I can leverage to show my value to a business in moto down the road?
100%. Like in sales, like I'm just super competitive. Like no one will ever, anyone that knows me at all can see that I'm just so competitive with everything I do, like anything. And that all stemmed from football. And then a leadership standpoint, having all the leadership roles my senior year, all that stuff. I mean, there's no way that's not going to help me later. And then with the NFL stuff, I'd say the main thing that is like mentally tough, because the free agent life of the NFL is rough. It is rough. Literally, oh, we love you, and then 2 weeks later you're cut. Like it's just, and then you're back at home. Yeah. So it's like the 100%, all those skills, 100%. I feel like I can for sure translate in like whatever it is I do.
So mental fortitude. I mean, that's something that just kind of throwing this out as an example. I would let a potential employer know, especially if it's in a sales position, like our account executives here have to have mental strength, because they get punched in the face every single day, either by COVID and people not answering the phones, or if somebody's like no, or if they just say F you, don't call me again. You have to have the mental toughness to be able to bounce back from that. Well, you've developed plenty of that, whether it's, man, that was a shitty snap. Okay, the next time I go out, I can't do that again. I got to clear my mind. Or I've got this opportunity. Just kidding, they cut me. You keep bouncing back. And that's a skill. So, I mean, I think that's something that you showcase and leverage. You're super well-spoken. I don't know if that's just natural or if you've done a bunch of interviews, but I mean, yeah, I mean, you're super well-spoken. There's a skill set. What's an ideal, like, you know enough about the brands and whatnot in moto, like what's something that you would want to do as far as getting your foot in the door somewhere? Have you thought about it being sales or marketing or PR or something like that?
Definitely sales and marketing. Those are the worlds I've really like enjoyed looking at, and really like explored companies the past couple months. Just like looking around, like like WPS is one. Like I grew up like right down the street from Troy Lee. And I've been at their corporate a couple times. It's pretty cool. And just like all like that, those kind of things, all those companies are just awesome. Like you can't really go wrong with a lot of these companies. You really can't.
Right.
Like, and then looking into other stuff, like a lot of the enduro stuff is really popular out here in Oregon. It's just learning like which ones are like big up here. Just learning all the other companies, but sales and marketing is like where I think my future is.
So your Instagram is Tanner Carew 10. So Tanner, TANNER, CAREW, number 1, number 0. I mean, I think I encourage. There's always businesses that are looking for reps, account executives, sales professionals, people that understand marketing. And that's something that you don't have a degree in it, but you understand it because you've had to market yourself to plenty of teams. I encourage people to reach out and follow you, even if you're not an employer looking for somebody. If you're just a fan, reach out, follow Tanner. If you are somebody that's interested, reach out to him. I mean, it's something that you're looking for those opportunities now. And then I had told you on our last call, motoindustryjobs.com. We have no affiliation with them, but it is a really cool site. There's a bunch of opportunities on there. I would look for them and then just present yourself and all the skills that you've gathered over the year. You've got way more skills than somebody with a, people are going to disagree with this, but I think it's true, than a Harvard degree. Okay? Why? Because you've had that real life experience. Whether it's as book smart as those folks, who cares? You've got the real life experience that so many others don't. I would just leverage that and present yourself. And I mean, look, if John Smith, who isn't a professional football player, shows up at my door, and Tanner Carew shows up at my door and leads with, I played for this team, whether somebody wants to admit it or not, you're going to pique their interest a little bit more. You're going to stand out just a little bit more than the other candidates. I would leverage that to your ability for sure. You have to know that, right? You've probably been leveraging that with girls and whatever your whole life. Like, it's just part of it. I play in the NFL.
Yeah, it's something cool you can kind of toss around every now and then.
Yeah, I'm just messing with you. That's awesome, man. I appreciate you coming on and telling your story. I was intrigued by it when you reached out on Instagram, and I'm going to stay in touch with Tanner. We're going to, hopefully have him on the show, and he's into mountain biking. We're going to get him out here and do some e-bike stuff, and I hope to be able to have you back on and tell your story about where you're at now and see what people say.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks for having me on. This is great.
I appreciate it, man. Real quick, where can people find you? I gave your Instagram handle out if you want to do that again, and any other places. What's the best way to get in contact with you?
Instagram and Twitter works. My Twitter's @tcarew10. So pretty much same thing, just T instead of Tanner. Yeah, and then Tanner Carew10 @TannerCarew10.
Cool. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on with us.
Thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Moto Marketing Podcast. If your goal is to get real, measurable results from your marketing that will grow your company revenue, then check out how Impakt Media can get the same results that they have for Moto's most iconic brands by visiting thinkimpakt.com. That's THINKIMPAKT.com. Have a marketing question that you want answered on the show? Send your questions to questions@motomarketingpodcast.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. And we'll catch you on the next episode of the Moto Marketing Podcast.